Hello, real writers. Happy New Year. It's Chris here, and I thought I would do a, start of the year reading like a million other people are doing this weekend. But obviously, this is for writers and writers of any kind. If you're new to the channel, this is for playwrights and songwriters and essay writers and creative nonfiction writers and nonfiction writers and poets and fiction writers and whatever it is, screenwriters, whatever it is. We focus on writing here. I'm a writer, editor, and teacher. I'm editor and soul of editor and soul. That's pretty funny, actually. I'm going to leave that in because it kind of is true. It's more about soul than anything else for me. I'm editor in chief of Del Sol Press, and I've been editing for more than 30 years on the side, freelancing and working in the arts and humanities sector, although I've in the last couple of years moved to higher education. So I hope your New Year's off to a great start. I thought I would use a new deck. This is called the Cosmic Journey Oracle, but and it includes a journaling guidebook, so that's kind of nice. I'll leave you with the questions as well so that you can go on and journal if you like, by Yanik Silver. Okay, so let's get to it. Pick a card, 1, 2, or 3, going from the left to the right, and we will start with number 1. Card 38, you will only see the way by making the way. And the person on this card is dressed like an explorer. Well, I don't know if I need to explain this because I think it's pretty clear. You will only see the way by making the way. Okay, so let's see what the booklet has to say in terms of the question, etc., that I can share with you. There are no more well-marked trails to travel anymore. Boy, isn't that the truth. All institutions, organizations, and establishments are in a state of creative destruction. Oh my God, that is very true. The safe route, or the right way to build your life, your resume, your business, is over and done. If you've received this card, it's time now for you to walk the pathless path, leading with love. Rejoice! What a time and space to be alive, taking part in nudging forward the next era of evolving human consciousness. You volunteered to be a torchbearer, leaving guideposts for others as you move ahead with joy as your GPS. You can see the way only by making the way. Well, congratulations! In case you didn't know you volunteered for this, you volunteered. So I'm betting at this moment you might be feeling like voluntold. But this is good, obviously. I feel like, especially in the writing world and publishing world, this has been a long time coming, this idea. Creative destruction sounds good to me. Let's tear it all down and find a new way to share our work, because the powers that be are not doing a very good job. In my opinion, that's been going on for years. I think if you, in this day and age, there are plenty of options for you for getting your work out there, for doing things on your own, your way. And I think this card is saying, in terms of being a writer, you may not resonate with this, just, think about it later if it bothers you right now and you're like, that's crap, Chris, I'm not doing that. You don't know what you're talking about. This is just a suggestion. And that is to, don't write for the trend. I know, I can't believe I said that. It's okay. It's okay. Deep breaths. Don't write for the trend. Unless first of all, by the time something's a trend, it's already over. You shouldn't be writing for it because it's pretty much over. Obviously, larger trends like the memoir trend went on and on and on and on and on. I think it's petered out. The young adult trend is alive and kicking. Fantasy is alive and kicking. If this is your jam, then for sure, write it. For sure. Dig in. Enjoy yourself. But what I'm saying is, don't be like, how can I be the most famous and make the most money and sell the most books and write for that? Because you may or may not be successful. I can't say. But I can say that there's a certain amount of heart and soul that's lost in that kind of decision and is felt in those kinds of books. Personally, again, As I mentioned at the beginning, I've been editing for over 30 years. I've edited every single kind of book possible. I don't do certain books anymore, but I literally have edited every single kind of book possible. And I can tell you, it's very clear when someone is just trying to write for fame or money. There's no passion for the story. There's no, or it's a forced passion, or it's formulaic passion in a sort of way. It's hard to describe. But I know you've read those books where you feel like someone's just churning them out and they're not enjoying themselves and they're not having fun and they're not doing it because they absolutely love it. And I think in this day and age, especially after the 2 years we've had, if you're not absolutely loving it, why the fuck are you doing it? If I may start cursing. It's day 2. I waited. It's day 2 of the new year. It's time to start cursing. So, you will lead the way for others by doing this. You will find your own way of publishing, find your own way of sharing the work, find the way that you want to be in the world as a writer. If it doesn't exist, create it. You know what? Create it. I had this idea years ago when I was at the State Arts Council. I was the literary arts program director, and everybody shot it down, but it was a great idea. I mean, everybody internal shot it down, but other partners were very interested and other writers were very interested. I just couldn't get it going, but you do it. Get a bunch of people together and go stand on corners in the city and give readings wherever you are. Just go stand on corners and give readings and have people film you and take pictures and put it on an Instagram account and do it regularly so people know what's going to happen. It's better to be outside anyway. You could still give a reading instead of going indoors somewhere. It's safer and more people will see you. I don't know, you can put out a hat if you want and get some money. It's up to you. But, just go out in the corner and start giving a reading. There's no one to stop you. Try doing that. But like it says, you will only see the way by making the way. So start with you. What do you want? How do you want to be in the world as a writer? How do you want to share your work? What do you want to write? Spend some time thinking about that today and strike out from there. And if it means leaving behind something you've been working on that you thought was going to work, but you don't feel it anymore, this is your permission. I'm giving you permission to put that aside. So you need someone to tell you that. I'm giving you permission. Put it aside. Save it, of course. You might want to come back to it later. But if there's some brighter light in your head that you want to follow that instead. Now, that said, I'm not trying to tell you that you can start and stop and not finish things and just run through the end of the year not finishing anything, because then you're going to be here next year going, I'm not listening to any of your readings ever again, Chris, because what you told me last year was crap. And, you know what you need to do. Pick something and finish it. If you don't feel like, maybe start small, but don't be blazing through the whole year not finishing anything. That's definitely not what I'm saying. So the cosmic catalyst, which is like a journaling question for this card, is what did I volunteer for down here in service of evolving myself in the world? So there you go. And the additional, what they call a cosmic checkbox, get lost on purpose. Turn off your phone and simply allow yourself to wander in a new area freely. Well, that sounds fun. I would suggest doing that in a bookstore. If, when it's safe. I mean, right now, I don't know. If you are feeling safe putting on a mask and going out among people, then by all means, everyone has to do what they feel comfortable with. Do it in a bookstore. See what happens. Go into a section of a bookstore that you usually don't go into and just close your eyes and pick a book. And then open it to the page of your favorite, whatever your favorite number is, and see what it says on that page. And just follow books in a bookstore. Just keep doing that all over the bookstore and see what happens. It's kind of fun. It's like playing the thesaurus game where you just follow words through a thesaurus. It's a bit of a rabbit hole, so maybe set yourself a time limit and then go get a coffee or tea and some sort of scone or something in the in the little cafe. Okay, long enough on this card. I'm going to go to number 2. And this one is Alchemical Artist. That's a pretty card. That's pretty. Number 10, Alchemical Artist. What I love about these cards that you can see is how bright they are, how vivid they are. Okay. That's not... Okay. That's not exactly what's on the book, in the book. I see. So I've pulled an archetype card, which I was supposed to set aside, but I think there are no mistakes. So I'm going to read this card. The Alchemical Artist. The attributes of this card are creativity, artistry, new combinations, transcendence, and greater self. Well, there you go. Perfect. You may know of alchemy, the science of transmutation, from ancient efforts to turn lead into gold. But there is another greater purpose to transform from your small self into your greater self. The alchemical artist stands ready to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, creating art from new combinations of what is in front of you. The artist's purpose is to bring beauty, truth, and new ideas through their creation. You are the ultimate creation, ready to evolve. As both the artist and the creation, you can become the alchemical artist. Now, these archetypes are called Q&A cards, and so there's a list of questions. And the suggestion is not to use words. Rather than write your answers, draw pictures using either your dominant or non-dominant hand, or try both. So, I'm just going to read the questions. What is my own unique art? Why haven't I put out my greatest art yet? Which form of creative expression is something I can consider going back to or adding into my life? What ways can I continue my alchemy into my greater self? What relationships, gifts, and learnings from my own base material are now ready to transform into something more? So this is a really great card for the start of the new year if you chose this card. This is asking you, I think this card is telling you that this is going to be a year of greater artistry, transcending who you are now as a writer. And it follows really well from the first card, which was asking, what kind of writer do you want to be? What kind of writing life do you want to have? How do you want to share your work? These questions follow from that perfectly. What is my own unique art? Why haven't I put out my greatest art yet? Which form of creative expression is something I can consider going back to or adding to my life? It's sort of a taking stock card, which I think is really, again, perfect for the new year. So it's reminding you that you are the creation, you are the artist, you transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. And this is why I was speaking about the first card in terms of, well, I think you guys know by now, if you've been listening to these readings for the year or so, gosh, I don't know how long I've been doing this, a couple years, off and on, that I'm not about writing for fame and, fame and money. If those things happen, or awards or whatever, if those things happen, awesome. But I've been a writer my whole life since I was a little kid. And I'm sure most people have been. I mean, everybody has some story about writing little stories as a kid or whatever. It's nothing earth-shattering, but it's something I've done since I was a child, and with a dip into some really embarrassing poetry that, thank God, got better. But that's what's, being a real writer is about. And if you haven't read the poem that the title of my, my persona, my editing services, etc., The Real Writer, it's from a Marge Piercy poem, Piercy, which is called For the Young Who Want to. Oh gosh, I'm going to try to remember the line. Well, the basic line is the real writer is one who really writes. And to me, that means giving of your whole self without thinking of what others want or what others think, which is hard, I know, but giving of your whole self and diving into what you want, what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, what the stories that excite you and inspire you and confuse you and, challenge you and all those things. And not being like, okay, this is going to be a business. Yeah, I mean, writing can be a business and you can definitely do both. But I think coming from that position to begin with is not magical. I'm sorry. Coming at writing from a position of fame and fortune and awards is not magical. It's not to say that magic can't happen on that path, but I think you're starting at a deficit if that's what you're doing. So, and that's where the alchemical artist comes in. This is, as a writer, you're magical. You are alchemical. You are performing alchemy. You are taking the intangible and the nonverbal, transforming it into the verbal, which then creates pictures and emotions and sound and senses, sensory experiences for the reader. So you're going from nonverbal to verbal to nonverbal, intangible to tangible to intangible. I mean, it's multiple transformations. I mean, no, in my opinion, no other art form does that. Music is nonverbal, dance is nonverbal. You're taking something and putting it into language, which is a very limited resource. Unfortunately, English is a limited resource more so than other languages in many ways. And using that to create nonverbal, intangible sensory experiences on a mental, emotional, and physical level, spiritual, psychic, whatever, all of these things. I mean, to me, that is freaking hard magic and alchemy, and no other art form does that. So perhaps this card is saying, like I said, this is a time to take stock of what your goals really are. And as the other card was saying, and I'm going to go back to the other card really quickly, the safe route or the right way to build your life, your resume, your business is over and done. If you've received this card, it's time now for you to walk the pathless path, leading with love. So I'm going to say leading with love of your art form. If you got this card, and I'm feeling like these cards are all working together more than individually, so you might want to watch the whole thing. But now that you've realized you've been volunteered, like I said, or voluntold to be this person in card number 1, here's how you get there. Here's how you take on the persona of the alchemical artist by answering these questions. So I would find time to do that, because you're going to be forging your own path and you need to take stock. Just like any trip, you're going to have to plan some of it. Even if you're not a planner or a plotter, you're a pantser, you write by the seat of your pants, you're going to have to plan a little bit of this. You do still have to buy tickets. You do still have to get a hotel. You do still have to figure out your transportation. You still do need to decide the things you want to see and do, some of the things you want to see and do, because sometimes you have to buy tickets for things. So lest I take this travel metaphor too far, maybe you can take some time and answer these questions. And I'll put the timestamp for the questions so that you don't have to, look for them. I don't want to reprint them in my description because they are from the book and they're not mine to share in that way. So that's long enough for that card. Let's go on to number 3. And number 3, yeah, these are all working together. Your greatest work is your legendary legacy. And of course, it's a book. Real writers, of course it is. How perfect is that? Your greatest work is your legendary legacy. Okay, and what is the answer to the meaning of life? 42. All right, so now we know we've reached the meaning of life. We've reached the answer. We've reached nirvana. Here it is on the second day of the new year. If you haven't read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you have to read it, by Douglas Adams, classic. Your greatest work is your legendary legacy. You've drawn the sword of destiny. Your legendary legacy awaits. An action that you take now may be felt for years or more. Oh my God, no pressure. Oh, New Year's readings. So dramatic. Your greatest work will stand against the endless tides of history, washing everything else away. Paradoxically, by trying to create a legacy, you might nullify the likelihood it'll happen. You must dare differently. And then they do an acrostic. So D, discover what you are uniquely designed to do. A, activate your unique genius by proclaiming your authentic power. R, remember your true mission here and why you incarnated at this time. E, evolve your deepest dream into full service for the largest collective. Okay, the message is pretty clear here, folks. Your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is to evolve your deepest dream into full service for the largest collective. So that's the New Year's resolutions of all resolutions, I think. And this is so funny. The checkbox, the little action is take an assessment that provides you with insight into another facet of your inborn genius and your unique ability. Well, didn't we just sort of do that with the alchemical artist with those questions? So check out those questions if you're just picking card number 3 and you didn't look at the readings for the other 2, because really these cards are all working together. They're saying the same thing. You have a bigger purpose this year. This is your year. You need, if your mission, should you choose to accept it, like I said, is to evolve your deepest dream into full service for the largest collective. Remember your true mission, activate your unique genius. So that sounds intense. But, it's okay. One step at a time. And he made some suggestions here if you haven't done any of these other assessments besides what the questions to answer on the second card. Doing the Enneagram, Colby, I haven't heard of Colby, Wealth Dynamics, or Fascination. There are others, obviously, lots and lots of different types of assessments out there that you can take. But the suggestion is to give you insight into another facet of your inborn genius and unique ability. You might do an archetype kind of test, for example. That can be to see where you are, what archetypes are at work in your life right now. So I'm going to turn all these back around. And I would encourage you to go back and listen to the reading for all of these cards. This is your mission. You will only see the way by making the way. Or this is your catalyst. This is your reading right here, really. And then here is how you take stock of the way that you want to go. Where do you want to, what's the path? This will help you, answering these questions will help you find that path. And then this is the result. Your legendary legacy. Your greatest work will stand against the endless tides of history, washing everything else away. And I've said this to people, I'm going to say, this is in part of this reading, and I'm going to say it again. Paradoxically, by trying to create a legacy, you may nullify the likelihood that it'll happen. You must dare differently, which is what this card, the first card, is saying. You must dare differently, as only you uniquely can. It's often when we're chasing a dream really, really hard, like I'm going to do this. I'm going to check all these boxes, and this is the book I'm going to write, and I've seen other people do this, so this is what I'm going to do. And you're pushing, and you're choking the project. You're choking the story to death. You're suffocating it because you're not allowing the magic, the alchemy to happen. So there's a good amount of surrendering control in writing if you haven't discovered that yet. And then in the revision process, even more magic can happen when you have a little bit of a framework to work with. So don't shy away from revision, and definitely, if you can, work with an editor, because the things you can't really skimp on are editing and your book cover. happy to work with you. This is not a pitch. There are lots of wonderful people out there. Certainly email me if you're interested, but definitely editors have a lot of experience and will be able to show you things that you don't even see and help your book reach its potential. And it's so fun and exciting to do that for writers. I cannot even tell you. Every book is a wonderful puzzle, and you get to work with them to put it together in its best form. And it's just really, I mean, the discoveries you make when you're editing a book, when you're helping a writer revise, are just really quite thrilling, actually. And I just find it really exciting and wonderful. And so I wish for you that opportunity with whatever editor you choose to work with in future. And I wish you all a very happy 2022. I'm afraid to say that, but I don't know what else to say. 6 is supposed to be a wonderful year. The number 6, 2022, adds up to the number 6. So thinking good thoughts, third time's the charm. I don't know what to say. Maybe if we're all working our magic and alchemy, we can transform this year as well. So best wishes for all writers, and happy writing.